Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for a Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025. 15 Wednesdays out from the first day of the year. New Year's Day, you may recall, was a Wednesday. And it's been a week since Liberation Day Wednesday, the day that President Trump announced the reciprocal tariffs. The financial markets have been all over the place. Once again, this morning, cryptocurrency as well. And we're going to jump right into it with White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt in Tuesday's press briefing.
In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump in the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership.
In response to China's retaliation, the Trump administration imposed a 50% tariff on Chinese goods, on top of the 34% reciprocal tariff announced last Wednesday, on top of the already standing 20% tariff, bringing the grand tariff total, I feel like it's a game show, on Chinese goods to 104%, which is now in effect as of midnight. More from Rob Schmitt.
The question is, though, how long can China play hardball? From back in February, right up here, China's economy has slowed substantially. Local governments are straining under debt burdens. The property sector has nearly collapsed. Consumer confidence is poor. External demand is a brittle support beam. And by external demand, of course, they mean mostly the United States buying cheap Chinese crap. That's what's holding the whole thing up, and there's not much to hold up right now. It's a very, very bad situation in China, as you can learn about in many different ways. While Democrats are freaking out over meager drops in a dramatically overinflated Dow Jones average right now, China's economy is really in trouble, in a really bad place, has been for a while now. So if there was ever a time to pick this long-needed fight, this really is the moment. It's good timing for Trump to get into the White House. And while China plays tough, Trump says the rest of the world is rushing to cut these deals. Here was the president earlier today.
For those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
There you go. $2 billion a day, he says. $2 billion a day in tariff revenue. That's about $700 billion a year, more than $700 billion a year. Just to give you a reference, that's a third of what our government brings in from all income taxes. Everything we all pay in income taxes, that'd be about a third of that number. That's quick to get to those kind of numbers. And by the way, that number, $700 billion, is going to increase sharply at midnight because China has a lot of that, likely forcing China, with its very weak economy, to the table to cut a deal that will benefit our country, our workers, to some unknown extent. Based on our tremendous deficit, which you can see here behind me, just how much more China sends us than they accept from us, China's retaliatory tariffs just don't hit as hard as they need them to. That's the problem when there's this huge disparity. China exports far more to us than they import from us. The White House has the winning hand in many different ways here. China's only upside is, of course, political. Xi Jinping doesn't have to worry about elections. That's a huge benefit. Trump talks about that a lot. He's jealous of that because imagine what you could do if you could not have to worry about every 2 years you got to get everybody reelected. I mean, that's a huge liability. It weakens our country in a lot of ways because we're always thinking about the next election. It's hard to ever do the right thing like they're doing right now.
Rob Schmitt, host of Rob Schmitt Tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. While some Republicans are worried about the midterm elections or even the next presidential election, President Trump does not have to worry about being reelected. We go from Rob Schmitt to Rob Finnerty.
Donald Trump clearly has the best interests of America and Americans in mind, everyday Americans, not Wall Street, everyday Americans, while Joe Biden never did. He talked a big game, sort of. He didn't really speak well, but he tried to talk a big game. We couldn't think of a single thing that Joe Biden did that was truly America first or even America second. The CHIPS Act, what did that do? The Inflation Reduction Act that didn't address inflation, appointing Ketanji Brown Jackson, who doesn't know what a woman is, wiping out student loan debt, which is against the law. Was any of that really done for you? We don't think so. And maybe that explains why so many people still support what this current president is doing.
So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much, but then you get 36% who say the right amount. Then you get 17% who say too little. So you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power or the right amount of power. But with the majority of folks, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power. And the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a soaring eagle.
CNN just called Donald Trump a soaring eagle. That was this morning. And as the markets continue to go up and down, which we can expect to continue for a little while, there are Republicans out there, establishment types, neocons, the same people who wanted Nikki Haley to be president. Imagine if Nikki Haley was president right now. These people are quietly working against Donald Trump, and the Wall Street Journal is one of them. After just 6 days of market turbulence, 6 days of the great Donald Trump tariff war, what is going on right now with the Wall Street Journal? Over the last several months, the Journal has continued to inch to the left. Every week, a little bit more. Here is a headline today. Donald Trump is trashing America's reputation. His foreign policy is doing irreversible damage to the greatest geopolitical brand ever created. That was in the Journal today. So why is this happening? Well, the Republican establishment always turns on Donald Trump first. Think Mitch McConnell. But why is this happening now with the Wall Street Journal? Well, that's part of a larger story that no one is talking about. The man who owns the Wall Street Journal happens to be Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News and the New York Post. In fact, they are all located in the same building. Rupert is 93 years old now, and naturally he's slowing down, although he does still have all his marbles. His son James, this gentleman here, is now overseeing more and more of the company. And you can see his impact everywhere. Very subtle, but his fingerprints are everywhere. And that's because James Murdoch is not a conservative. In fact, he endorsed Kamala Harris publicly in September. He even said that he would like her to be president. So the man who could one day control News Corp endorsed Kamala Harris. The man who could one day control News Corp and Fox News wanted Kamala in the White House right now. In 2020, according to a report, James Murdoch spent at least $20 million trying to beat Donald Trump. And in February, James Murdoch told Atlantic Magazine, the same Atlantic Magazine that Jeffrey Goldberg works for, that, quote, if lying to your audience is how you juice ratings, a good culture wouldn't do that. James, of course, was referring to Fox News. And after January the 6th, in an interview with the Financial Times, that same James Murdoch stated, quote, proof positive that what we thought was dangerous is indeed very, very much so. Those outlets that propagate lies to their audience have unleashed insidious and uncontrollable forces that will be with us for years. And I mention that only because of what we are seeing right now. It's very telling. The markets are down right now, and everyone's blaming Donald Trump. It's because of tariffs that markets are down. This is the first real sign of trouble for the president since someone almost killed him back in July. And it's fascinating to see who is sticking with the president and who is jumping ship. It's been only 6 days of this great Trump trade war. 6 days, by the way, and people are abandoning the president on the right, and the Wall Street Journal is one of them, and I expect others to follow. We'll see.
That is Rob Finnerty, host of Finnerty, 8 p.m. Eastern. Some of the people that are sticking with the president testified on Capitol Hill yesterday, defending the tariffs as short-term pain for long-term gain, echoing the sentiments of the president. This is Newsmax congressional correspondent Kilmeny Dukart.
We have been listening to President Trump's top trade advisor talking about how unfair and unbalanced and unreciprocal trade has increased the nation's deficit, adding that there may be some short-term pain for long-term gain. Listen to this.
Our large and persistent trade deficit has been over 30 years in the making, and it will not be resolved overnight. But all of this is in the right direction, particularly as we start to negotiate with these countries.
Now, Republican Senator Mike Crapo, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee, says the latest moves will expand opportunities for Americans, while the ranking Democrat, Senator Ron Wyden, blasted this latest round of tariffs, calling out the White House for what he calls having no clear strategy.
The Trump aimless, chaotic tariff spree has proven beyond a doubt that Congress has given far too much of our constitutional power over international trade to the executive branch. Today, I am proposing a new bipartisan privileged resolution to end the latest crop of global tariffs that are clobbering American families and small businesses. Members on both sides of the aisle ought to know that this is a call to action, and Congress must step in to rein this president on trade.
Yeah, Greer says Argentina, Vietnam, and Israel have already suggested that they will reduce their tariffs and non-tariff barriers, calling them welcome moves, while threats escalate with Beijing. Meanwhile, Sean and Emma, some Republican senators are looking for an off-ramp here. They have signed on to bipartisan legislation that would require President Trump to have congressional approval to, of course, implement these tariffs, very similar to the War Powers Act. That is something that the White House has already said that they will not support.
Newsmax congressional correspondent Kilmeny Dukart on Capitol Hill. The measure was introduced by Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington. It would require presidents to justify any new tariffs to Congress and then for Congress to approve them. 7 Republicans, never fails, right? When it comes to the Republicans, 7, including Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who's up for re-election, and Rand Paul of Kentucky have signed on to the measure. But as Kilmeny said, the White House has already said it would veto any such bill anyway. There is a similar bill up for debate in the House as well, brought forward by New York Democratic Rep. Gregory Meeks. Speaking of Democrats, you remember a week or two ago, Rob Schmitt interviewed ESPN's Stephen A. Smith about why he dropped his support of Kamala Harris, why he's mad at the Democratic Party, et cetera, et cetera. And he said that he has this fat new contract from ESPN. He's very happy. He's living large. He's a sports guy. He's going to take the possibility of running for president off of the table. And I called BS on it. And this whole thing of him running for president started with an appearance on The View. Then after the Cory Booker charade and word that Kamala might run again, I said if you have Kamala, AOC, Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, and who knows who else running for the Democratic ticket, there is no way Stephen A. isn't going to get in, right? You remember that because you listen every day. Well, yesterday, Stephen A. did an about-face, saying now he could not rule out getting in when the time comes. I also said that I don't care at all about 2028 right now, and I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm telling you it is going to be wild for Democrats, and I'm telling you, Stephen A. Smith could become a real possibility. I'm telling you, with that ego, there's no way he's staying out. And I don't say that negatively. I'm just saying Meanwhile, what Congress really needs to do is to figure out Trump's massive tax cuts and not be worrying about undoing or upending the tariffs, and figure out the Doge stimulus checks that we were supposedly going to get. What happened to that? All right, Congressman James Comer spoke about the House vote on the budget on this morning's Wake Up America.
Great to have you with us this morning. So we are hearing that this is going to be a close one. I know that Congressman McCormick of Georgia said on Tuesday that there are as many as 40 Republican members who are undecided or oppose the measure altogether. Where do you stand currently, and will this have enough votes?
Well, I strongly support the president. I'm going to vote for this bill. This is more of a procedural bill than the actual budget reconciliation bill. It's very frustrating that we have several Republicans, several of my good friends and colleagues, who continue to raise objections to things that really don't amount to a whole lot. At the end of the day, this legislation just allows us to move forward and try to get the one big beautiful bill that President Trump was talking about. So I strongly support President Trump. I've advised Mike Johnson to put the bill on the floor. And if anyone who's been back here behind me all morning saying they don't know how they're going to vote or whatever, let them vote against it and see what their constituents and see what the White House thinks about this. We've got to move this ball forward, and that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, Congressman, I mean, the president's been very clear. He wants this bill to pass quickly. You only have control of D.C. for 2 more years. I mean, it seems like we're wasting time on a bill to get to a bill. And when it's really the one big, beautiful bill that's important, this is just basically D.C. nonsense.
That's exactly right. That's a sign that we need term limits here. When people they can't see the forest for the trees. They're tripping over a procedural bill, and it's so frustrating to me, and I can only imagine how President Trump feels. Hopefully we'll get the job done today, but it's a lot of the same guys, and I can't say enough good things about these people. They want to cut spending. They want to balance the budget. And in all reality, the Senate's not serious about cutting anything. But what we've got to do is what President Trump wants, to be able to pass this budget reconciliation bill, because we've got a lot of challenges in our country. President Trump talked about them last night. You showed the clip. We don't have free and fair trade in America because other countries have not been allowing us to have a level playing field. This is what it's all about. Getting America back on a level playing field. It's going to take a few bumps in the road. That's where we are now. But I have confidence that President Trump will deliver.
Congressman James Comer on this morning's Wake Up America ahead of a busy day in the House of Representatives. The White House dubbed yesterday's executive order signing as the Unleashing American Energy Executive Order event. It turned out the president was unleashing coal.
Germany went green, very green. They went so green they almost went out of business. Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. The Green New scam hit Germany too. And guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful, clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful, clean coal. Beautiful, clean coal. So today, thank you. Today we're taking historic action to help American workers, miners, families, and consumers. We're ending Joe Biden's war on beautiful, clean coal once and for all. And it wasn't just Biden, it was Obama, and there were others. But we're doing the exact opposite. And all those plants that have been closed are going to be opened. If they're modern enough, or they'll be ripped down and brand new ones will be built. We're going to put the miners back to work. And I said I was going to do this. And I've said it loud and clear. And it's time to do it. And we need it. And I look at these people behind me. I don't want to have any arm wrestling contests with any of them. But they've had a little more practice with the lifting things, I will say. But they are great people, and I know them indirectly for a long. That includes you guys for a long time, and they're great people and with great families and come from areas of the country that we love. and we really respect. And I want to thank Secretary Doug Burgum for doing such an incredible job. From the day I met him, I knew I wanted to have him in my cabinet.
Interior Secretary Doug Burgum and his wife, Energy Secretary Chris Wright, EPA Director Lee Zeldin, and many other members of the president's cabinet, along with many members of Congress, were there in the White House. And we heard from some West Virginia miners that were at the event as well.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I want to first thank you for having me and my fellow miners here. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of today's events. I believe this past November that America clearly spoke about what we wanted for our country. It is reassuring for Americans to have a president in office who will truly put the United States of America above all else. Thank you. With putting America first, you have spoken numerous times about energy independence. I believe most don't understand the importance of that. Coal is one of the major factors in energy independence and accounts for a large portion of America's energy. Coal is one of the most reliable and cheapest forms of electricity. For too long, coal has been a dirty word that most are afraid to speak about. Most of those that would speak negatively about coal do so from an uneducated standpoint. Many are unaware of the engineering and technology that are used in today's mining to create a clean, energy-efficient product. All of this is done while using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. From my family to the over 3,000 employees of ACNR, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
That is miner Jeff Crow of ACNR Coal speaking at the President's Energy Executive Order signing ceremony. President Trump also signed emergency declarations yesterday for several states that have been hit hard by flooding: Arkansas, Tennessee, and some others. Nashville is really having some major issues. This is not getting as much coverage as it should be getting because of everything else that's going on with. And he will be signing another executive order today, or maybe more than one executive order later this afternoon at the White House. That event will be carried live on Newsmax, and as always, will turn into a news conference with the president addressing a lot of questions. On Wall Street, the stock markets did open lower again this morning, but well off of earlier lows. In the pre-market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down about 800, and it opened down about 300. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most other cryptocurrencies basically flat, just slightly higher. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin was up about $200 at 76,900. A China-based company called Luxshare, which makes things for Apple, it's actually Apple's main supplier, said today it is now considering manufacturing in the U.S. Again, they currently manufacture in China, but they're considering manufacturing now in the United States due to the potential effects of tariffs. So there you go. Be sure to keep up with all of it on Newsmax, N2, and at Newsmax.com. Also, make sure you're streaming on Newsmax Plus so you can see all of your favorite shows and hosts throughout the day. It all starts each and every day with Wake Up America, followed by National Report, Bianca De La Garza on Newsline, Todd Starnes, Ed Henry, Carl Higbee, right through Rob Schmitt Tonight, Finnerty, and much more. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you, as always, for checking out the Newsmax Daily Podcast. Please share it with your friends and family. Enjoy the rest of your day. Who knows what the day will bring? And keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.